Hello, welcome to FVTV, first online episode. I've Neil Horgan, Dennis Bean, and to be fair, Derek Collins after making us all look bad here because he's got his own personal library. All we have is walls in the background.
It's a setup, though. Look, it's a setup.
there's no substance to the books.
Classics,
Oh,
absolute classics.
Where's Hoggy's book? Hoggy, you have a few books out, haven't you?
So look, we're going to get going there and see this first online episode, and again talk about the current situation that we're in. I suppose that's the biggest aspect at the moment. We've seen an announcement today already from Cork City. You know, they can only go a week without paying players. I'll just kind of identify. So, I'll go with you there first, Hoggy. What's your current thoughts? I suppose just in football at the moment in general. So,
well, in football in general, I suppose all up in the air, Darren. Like the lads probably say as well, everyone's kind of not knowing what's going to happen. I saw the League of Ireland, the clubs got together and met the FAI, I think it was yesterday, and they've pushed it back to a date in June instead of the March date. And then that was followed by Cork City saying that they're not going to be able to pay their players. So I suppose we've expected it from League of Ireland clubs, really, that they're going to have to announce that they're not able to pay their players, because the reality is they're not able to pay them. And I'd expect to hear from a lot more of them in the next few weeks as well, because I think you've had Shells, not Shells, you've had who's the first one? Drogheda,
Sligo, yeah.
Bray, Galway, Cabinteely, and Cork City now. So I'd imagine there'll be a few more within the 24 hours, you know.
Yeah, there's got to be. What about you, Dennis? What do you think? Obviously, have you kind of experienced this before, even at football clubs? I know I have anyway, but
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's in a certain time, especially for players. I wonder do they fall under this potential 75% from the government as well? You know, because that potentially could help the football clubs keep them afloat. You know, if you're getting 75% of your wages, it's not too bad. I know England or the UK were pushing for 80%, but like 75% of your wages, if you could do that for a period of time, it would tie a lot of lads over, especially if you're getting the reliefs potentially that we're looking at getting from rents, mortgages, etc. You know, but the uncertainty, you know yourself, it affects your football. I think every one of us here is being involved in some shape or form. That your wages, you don't know if they're going to come in next week. So when that scenario happens, you do start worrying, and football slightly becomes secondary then, because you start thinking of family straight away, you know.
well, then again, look, obviously, football is probably the most least important thing again, but we're football people, so just for anyone that's watching, like we are talking about football in this current climate because we've been through it, and we can maybe kind of give some guidance on it. And Derek, like, you've been around longer than any of us, so what like
Thanks for reminding me.
yeah. You've seen it all, like experience head and all.
Yeah. Hence why I have bookshelves behind me, because I'm just an old man in the corner on a rocking chair.
Do you have a heated lap blanket?
Is that a Cork City FC robe?
Yeah, that's my freebie for my 6 weeks ever coaching.
Derek Hefner.
Yeah.
Oh, but you must have experienced something in your own career, or probably not as severe as this in a global situation. But I suppose, you know, not
I was
getting paid is
actually
not getting
looking. I was lucky, Murph, because I never really experienced this. I missed it when it happened at City, you know. So I suppose any of the time when I came back in '96 and joined City, like we kept, it was going forward all the time, you know. It never went took a back step, you know. So I suppose I was lucky in the era when I played, lucky and unlucky in different ways, because I suppose I was in the part-time era to start off, and once, like, I suppose Dennis would have been nearly the full-time era for his whole career. I was part-time. I was semi-professional for a lot of my career, and then when I went full-time just as I was packing up, and that's really why I ended up packing up, because it was either pack up my job or pack up the soccer, you know. So I was kind of fell between two stools, between the part-time and the full-time, you know. So I haven't really any experience with clubs going to the wire, you know.
Yeah, maybe it's a case of that. Is that like, look, this is what's after happening. We kind of reset, go back to whatever we started with before, and kind of build it up again. Maybe that is the case.
Yeah,
I think
I think to be honest, like football is just for the first time ever, it's amongst so many other industries in this precarious position where we just don't know what's going to happen. Not of mine next week, in 2 days' time. Like even with us, my job in the airport, not sure what's gonna come out of it. Like are we on hold for 6 months? Are we 3 months? Are we 4 months? No one seems to know. So at least it's not soccer on its own this time. Like that, it's not something that soccer was doing wrong. I think we were. This year was a massive year for us in Irish football, and I think we had everyone's attention. We were starting from good foundations, and then this happens, and no one has any control over that. So hopefully, by the time it reconvenes and everything it picks back up, we'll be able to go at it properly.
But if you look at
that, sorry, Dennis.
Go on, yeah.
With the 12 months we've had, I suppose it's been good timing in a sense in terms of the bailout that's been agreed for the FAI, because had they not agreed that by now, they would have been in at the end of a long list, I'd say, of people coming to government looking for money now, whereas they've got it, sorted before any of this happened. So that might, in time, be a lucky kind of thing that happened. Go on, Dennis. Sorry.
Yeah, but I suppose bringing it back to football, for me, it's amazing when there's absolutely no sport on. How empty our life to a degree starts becoming, because we do rely on entertainment. That's what football is. It's an entertainment. I still find myself turning on Sky Sports, but there's no sport on. It's just something we go to for that live interaction, and seeing what's happening from week to week, and following teams, and you could talk to your buddies or friends and how Liverpool are doing, Man U, wherever, Cork City, back down to Dundalk or Strength, Dunmer Rovers had a great win. So it just creates that debate, and when sport is now taken out of our lives, it's a huge void to try and fill. So it just shows how important, and I think in time, sport will actually become more ingrained in people, because they'll realize what they've lost. It's like the old song, you don't realize what you've lost till it's gone, and I think that it'll massively help sport going forward.
Hopefully, Dennis, that people will be so sick of staying indoors watching TV that there'll be more going out to the Cross and going out to Tala and going to all the matches.
Absolutely.
Because I think people will realize that once everything gets back on its feet, that we'll embrace any societal interaction we get.
On that though, there's a lot more people. There's a lot more people outdoors now. You see people going out to parks, and even online, they're social. There's loads of videos coming into the page, like of young lads from Douglas Hall or all over the country as well. Doing keepy uppies and doing skills, and people are putting out skill challenges, and it just goes to show that, like, even us there now doing an online show, that people are kind of already adapting to what's happening. Now again, everyone's unsure, and as you said, Derek, there a minute ago, like, jobs and stuff like that, and everyone's in different situations and scenarios, but I suppose health, people's health as well, is obviously the top key priority for anyone. But again, people are adapting, adjusting, coming up with stuff. Dennis, you were on about the Sky Sports there. There's something I watched the other day, a video. I think it was on for about like 2 minutes, but it was like marbles rolling down a hill. I nearly watched the whole lot.
Just to have an element of sport and entertainment in your life, and it definitely is that. But I think once this starts hopefully coming under control, that we will start seeing a lot more people evaluate how probably privileged we were previous, and we were taking sometimes things for granted. We can go and watch City of the Cross anytime, we can go do this at any time, that at any time. Who knows what's around the corner again. People might start realising that health, number one, but also getting out and about and supporting your local community and local clubs. It's a live game. There's nothing better than that.
All good points.
I think from League of Ireland, like, I think League of Ireland clubs have been kind of survivors for a long time. Fighting. I think I spoke to you about this, Darren, earlier today.
Yeah.
You said they were like cockroaches.
They are, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
but
know,
there's a difference now. The whole country realizes how important us cockroaches are, because there'd be no
Yeah.
international team if there was no cockroaches.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
but in the sense that they're the ultimate survivors. Like they've had no money for so many years since, you know, the foundation of the league in the 1920s, and still the league has managed to survive. So I think actually those clubs are kind of, you know, they're good at surviving, dare I say it, even though some of them do die occasionally. And I think the League of Ireland, you know, will hopefully be in a better position than it's been, you know, when we come out of this. That's the hope, particularly with clubs who are used to kind of trouble and can bounce back kind of quickly. Whereas I think other sports might, you know, it might be the first time that, you know, Irish rugby, for example, has had an issue with payments to players or anything like that, whereas we've been down this road how many times, like. So I think, you know, we're not wishing any, you know, bad luck on anyone else, but I just think the League of Ireland might be in a good position going forward, hopefully.
No, that's a
But it's
great
an
point.
but it's an interesting time for the players. If you kind of bring it back, obviously they're under pressure, definitely money wise now, not knowing what happens tomorrow. But just even in their own physical self, you know, they can train together. You know, they have to keep their social distancing. You know, mentally, this is going to be a horrendous time for them. You know, the league is talking about getting back up and running in June, July, was it?
Yeah, well, that's what they've pushed it out at the moment.
They
like,
push it out. So some of the English clubs are saying they're coming back
Yeah.
next week. I can't see how they can do that. You know, potentially more space than some League of Ireland clubs would have. But it's a massively mentally challenging time now, because in a group it's easy to get motivated and you train every day and you're doing. But to keep your routine and get training and do your own stuff, and depending on how far this goes, in your own private space, be able to do your own training will make it phenomenally hard. So I don't envy him at all. You know, it's going to be really, really tough, because as everybody knows, I was the best trainer out there. So it was easy for me to get motivated. But genuinely, outside of being in a group setup, I found it very, very tough to do individual training. So for them, I think it's going to be very, very hard.
Like, I think myself and Darren were talking with the chairman of Cork City the other night, and he was saying that they've got individual individual schedules from their fitness, say at Cork City, from their fitness coach, but then there's an app whereby they're tracked as to the runs they're doing or whatever. But as you said, Dennis, I mean, that running is one thing, but staying motivated, particularly when now they've just learned that they're not going to be paid potentially in 2 weeks' time, it's going to be very, very difficult for them, I'd say.
I suppose different to Yeehogs back when Cork City folded the last time was that the difference now is that players can't get a move somewhere else. That option isn't on the table. So I suppose if 2 weeks after not being paid, are they free agents? Is that how it works?
Yeah, it's a breach of contract.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah,
But
on a normal string of things. But this is such a unique situation that these players, a lot of them are loan players. With Cork City, say, take the local example, a lot of loan players in the league at the moment, and I presume they'll all go back to their clubs. Who knows whether they come back when everything reconvenes, you know? So are Cork City going to be looking for a new squad again, you know? So
yeah, we've 4 players here now who could get fit quite.
That's it, yeah. It might come to that with it. Jesus, hopefully not.
Well, I'm very motivated to get out of my house these days, so I'll run out anywhere you want me to.
This is where at the highlight of your career right now, in my opinion. I've seen you play down Carrigaline, and you've never played better.
I found my touch after 36 years.
That's it, yeah. It's all about the experience.
Pebble in the shoe football is great, Huggy.
No, but you're right, yeah. Like, I don't know if any of these lads have probably gone through this either before, you know, where, like, I suppose we can speak from experience. We've been through probably good times and bad times with clubs, but it always kind of turns around in the circle, and the merry-go-round comes around again. There's a new set of players, young lads, hopes and dreams, you know, probably at full-time clubs, and they're probably more professional now than they ever were, like, with social media, and, you know, they're out there at the moment. They're in Europe, and this is probably going to be a very, very big shock to them. And again, I think it's the people in League of Ireland that really, really get it going and really, really keep the survival. And I think they need to, I suppose, embrace whatever's out there now at the moment, because they will be isolated. They can't train, you know, in your house. There's only so much TV you can watch and stuff, and we've probably all been in some kind of hotel room or something somewhere with football, and you know, for a day or two or something, and you're going crazy. So again, I don't know, can they get involved with, like, you know, passing on skills, or even like there's a lot of online platforms there now, you know, get on Fans Voice TV, start watching all the, the episodes.
Do one a night more to keep them all interested, just keep them coming, you know.
But I do. I read Graham Cummins's article. I think he was in the Echo today, and he was making the distinction between being part-time and full-time. And I suppose it depends if there are part-time players, say at Drogheda, who are no longer getting paid, if their employment is still up and going or not. I mean, there's so much here up in the air. Like, so you potentially have a guy, you know, who was a part-time soccer player, like you were, Derek, or I was at one point, and had a part-time job or full-time job, and perhaps maybe both of them are gone down the Swanee now in the last, you know. Like, I'd say some guys are going through an awful situation for going from having a full-time job and a part-time job to suddenly nothing. So I'd say there's a lot of turmoil out there as well.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see too the likes of Shamrock Rovers and Dundalk, if they're going to keep paying their players, you know, because I suppose the players they have are players that they've coveted over the last few years. They're sought after players, and I imagine they're going to do everything in their power to keep paying them through this period, you know.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see when they come out with some kind of statement about it or anything, because obviously we know Cork City have been in some kind of financial trouble recently, but they seem to be strong, and whether they'll decide to let their players go and take the risk, because it is a risk. I'd imagine if they let the players go, I mean, you can't sign a contract to say you have to come back. So I'd imagine if you do temporarily lay off players, situation is you're gone, like, unless you decide to come back yourself and the club wants you back. So
if you were a chairman, Hoggy, what would you do?
Depends on the situation.
Situations, obviously, but if you look at Cork City situation,
well, I suppose if they don't have the money, you have to kind of be upfront about it straight away and tell them, and then look for support. I think they probably what they've done is inevitable, really. I think, Dennis.
Yeah, I think any club in the League of Ireland now is going to face that. Like, I think Sligo are probably realistic about it. Came out really early, and Drogheda, you know, they just can't afford it. They like, as I said, we spoke to Declan Carey, Cork City chairman, and as good and as great as people are, and they want to they're putting in every hour. That, like, you know, it's just not feasible. Cove, we were meant to go down and speak to them today, to their chairman Bill O'Leary, but again couldn't go down there because of the current situation we're in, and I imagine they would have been the same. They're going to try and, you know, be that kind of support for the community as much as they can, but again, like Hog, you made a great point there about part-time players. Is there a worry now as well that their second job, like, you know, when if it does ever come back, or, you know, like, are we going to lose a lot of those players? You know, are they going to be able to travel around the country then with families or kids or whatever? You could be facing immigration then as well. Like, I know it's in every country, but the, you know, job opportunities might be somewhere else. Like, we were hit massively by Australia a good few years ago, and I personally think football went back a few years when that happened. I don't know about any of you, but
yeah, we lost some of our best players certainly at one point, I think. But that, I think the money, really, the players will follow the money, just like any workers will. Like, but I think going back to Dennis there as well, I think what you don't want, Dennis, is where you're not getting the full picture from the club or the chairman or something like that. Where some of us have been in that position before, and that's the worst thing in the world for someone who you're not, you know, they're not being transparent. So all you want is seeing a bit of confirmation of where the situation is. You know?
Yeah, and that's where kind of coming from a player's point of view and being involved in that situation. This time is so weird because the club hasn't done anything wrong, like Derek said. You know, you're coming at it. Well, we were coming at it that time. It was a case of the club had let us down to a degree. You know, we'd felt, and we were angry at somebody. You know, and then when the opportunity or sorry, when the situation became that you had no choice but to go. I wouldn't even call it an opportunity with no choice but to go. You had to move on. But do you think in this scenario that there might be a sense of loyalty because it's not the club's fault? So if you if you're a player that's left,
I do, and sorry to be answering that. But I do, and I think actually there's a huge sense of kind of collectivism or cooperation or kind of goodwill around the league. You see it in the tweets and the things, like there's no one coming out, even when the announcements so far anyway, of players, not getting wages or whatever, are being laid off, essentially. They're not coming out criticising the club. They're kind of saying we're all in it together. I saw Buckley at Sligo saying the players know that this is the right thing and they've been supported up till now as best they can, and the club just can't afford it and will take them on, God willing, going forward. So I think you're right. I think that all speaks to probably a loyalty, and they might be there to come back, hopefully, if this passes over in maybe 6 weeks or something.
No,
and then
then from a financial point of view, like the difference between the Dundalk and Shamrock Rover players' financial, like their salaries compared to the Cork City players' salaries, like they're probably on average 10 times more. I don't know if the Cork City players at the moment, I don't think they'll be down too much money on average by getting the dole. That's how far we've fallen from a paying players' point of view.
The gap between what you're earning versus what you get on the dole, I suppose, is the hit that the players, is a relevant issue for. So if you're a top player at Dundalk, going on the dole is a much bigger hit than perhaps at other clubs,
Absolutely, and that's where I was going to flip it on its head. Come back to what you were saying, Derek, about this a player become a free agent. Does this then, if the player is loyal to the club, doesn't the club need to be loyal to the player? I.e., if their contract is null and void, they don't pay him for a couple of. Potentially, you could see a few clubs going, "He's a bit of dead wood already. Can I get rid of him and not bring him back?" So this could be. You
mean as in the club take advantage of the situation and get rid of players that way?
Yeah.
There will be an element of that, of course.
That can happen, yeah.
Yeah, this could be an interesting time with people coming back, and that's where the bad will could come in afterwards.
And it could work both ways too, Dennis. It might happen from the player's point of view as well.
Yeah.
They might say,
forget
about this. Like, I'm off. I'm going somewhere else.
We've all been in that situation where you kind of, and that's why we always say about players choosing clubs. Make sure that you know what you're going into, because yourself. You can get into a club and you can say, oh, "Geez, this isn't for me," or sometimes it's a great club and you want to be there. Yeah, exactly. But I suppose, look at the Rovers and Dundalk situation. I suppose is that it could return totally different. I imagine those. I don't know what the hell that is. Time limits up, but the owners, can they afford to have the clubs at the side as well with the global pandemic in business and stuff like that, so you could be facing that as well.
And then you've the likes of Bose, where I think they've sold all. I think the capacity was sold out in season tickets, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So I think they've a strong season ticket revenue. I know they're probably down from bar revenue or merchandise at game day, but different clubs, some clubs then probably don't have season ticket sales, so it all depends on what way you went,
Yeah, but even the season tickets, aren't they saying that they will suspend one round of games, isn't it? So they'd have to give some of that season ticket money back because they'd have sold X amount of games.
I don't know. I didn't hear that now, Dennis.
Didn't they say they were going to suspend one round of games and make the league?
They shortened it.
They shortened it, so it's 3 instead of 4 times, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's not suspended, I think. I think it's just 27 games instead of whatever, 33.
Sorry, apologies. That's it, yeah. So if you're a season ticket holder, you paid for 30.
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
I don't think fans are going to pull that issue, though, are they really?
No.
Not the cockroach League of Ireland fans.
Yeah. What did any of you catch? Did any of you catch what that said there a minute ago? I didn't even read it. I just closed it down straight away. Was it?
It says
time is
up. It said they extended it to be unlimited.
Did it?
The host extended to be unlimited.
Unlimited minutes or something.
Yeah, what did you pay for, Murph?
You didn't pay for unlimited,
Dennis is working.
We're in dire times. Dennis,
yeah.
we'll send the bill to Hoggy.
Oh, absolutely. Huggy, you surely just go some legal way out of that.
Yeah, he'll have a loophole.
Actually, I don't know, Derek might remember this one. I seen it there on Twitter tonight. In 85, 86, the League of Ireland was called Famous Fried Chicken League of Ireland. Any remember that? No?
Stop. No, it was not, was it?
No way.
I saw it on a program. I think it was, yeah. I need to double check that, but just look.
Was that a prelim to Lennox's, Huggy, was it?
It could have been, yeah. They're famous chips, no?
Yeah, that was it, yeah.
In Breaking Bad, it's like, what was the chicken gaff in Breaking Bad? That's Huggy's little side, better call Saul's little sideliner.
That's like Duncan when we won in Limassol over Huggy, and we beat Limassol. Great win, Muzz header. What you call it? Mortar after the game came out. I was talking to Duncan, and it was brilliant. Oh, what a night! It was a brilliant night, great night all together. I said, yeah, I tell you what, they didn't take it right. And he goes, no, the chipper, we're out the door, chips everywhere. The football was secondary.
Jackie Lennox is at the moment with measures in place, control measures.
Are they still open?
Yeah, but the queue is
staggered.
I know Son of a Bun are doing like a curb collection or something like that. Like I imagine.
Yeah, a lot of them do deliveries.
Yeah. Probably. Yeah, I suppose. Look.
Actually, in terms of the League of Ireland sponsorship and that, the names, it's something I brought up before. I think personally that the league shouldn't be called the Aircom League or the Electricity League or whatever that was. What was that famous fried chicken league? I think it'd be great. I think you call it. I know you have the Heineken Cup in rugby, all right, maybe, but I think it degrades it. I think you call it the League of Ireland, sponsored by. I know it's probably.
Yeah, but if you look at in England, Hoggy, or in the UK, one of the biggest leagues in the world, they always call it the Barclays Premier League. Do you know what I mean?
But it changes.
Oh, always.
It's the Premiership. I call it the Premiership.
Yeah, but that's a nickname for it. But if you look at all the managers when they come out afterwards, they have to call it by the sponsored name. So they go the Premiership or the Barclays Premier League.
I don't mind that so much, but I just think that it got named as if the Aircom League was like the actual name of the league. You know what I mean?
I agree with you, Hogs. I agree with you.
Yeah. To be fair, I always call it the Aircom League as well for some reason.
I do. The electricity in my head, but it's like it's like the Viva. And it was the O2 Arena. It's not the O2 Arena anymore. It's the 3 Arena. It just names are synonymous with leagues,
Yeah.
Like the Carling Cup. It's not the Carling Cup anymore. It's whatever it is now,
So actually, I think Turner's Cross, I think that would be an opportunity for, you could have a stadium name sponsorship for Cork City. I think they should have pursued that. Maybe they did.
Little kickers tried, Hogs. They wouldn't take it. They said there was too many letters.
Yeah, or Fans Voice TV.
That was it. Yeah.
No. One day,
yeah.
Take over.
There was too many letters and little kickers. They said they couldn't take it.
What are you doing to keep fit? What are you doing? Are you doing some training programs, or are you just doing nothing and lazing around eating all the food in the cupboards?
I have my 5-year-old. I go for a run every evening with Dara. So my estate is 1 kilometre long. So we go out and we run left, go right and go back. It's 2K. And he's fitter than me. He's just flying around the place, and he's only 5, So yeah, it's good. So if you're looking for us, I'm definitely out of action anyway. I can't even do the 2K with him,
So if anyone in Carrigaline sees a heavy fella chasing a young kid, it's Dennis. All right, don't worry, it's his own kid.
Hey, when the snow was here, more we were chasing the bread man. Do you know what I mean? So.
Is it just Dennis doing running? Hoggy, you doing anything? Derek, you doing anything? You're both drinking at the same time? Whiskey, sours, is it?
Derek's still at work, aren't you, Derek, essentially? The airport?
Back, ish. I took time in lieu last week. We don't need to go into that.
Okay.
There's no airplanes landing. He can use the runway, just up and down the runway.
Who knows what's going to happen next week? No, to be honest, I'm walking the dog, Murph, and I have the kids out the back doing little drills and stuff. They're mad looking to do different exercises out in the garden. So,
yeah. What are you doing there?
I've done much now. I'm recovering from an injury again. So I'm hoping maybe this week I can start doing some running again. But I was doing hot yoga recently, actually. It's brilliant. Bikram yoga. But obviously they closed then because of what's going on at the moment. So
when I was doing the Murphy, it wasn't even hot, but it was roasting. It was just normal yoga.
Obviously, the Munster Senior League is suspended, and that Cove Rambler, like Wanderers, is your club. What's the situation with your players now and all that? Is just
so at the moment we've actually one of the players had a great idea there. I suppose all the kind of social there at the moment. You know, they've all got apps and stuff like that, and they're all kind of competing now in the WhatsApp group of doing some runs, road runs and stuff like that. And you know, if they go to the gym, they're kind of just putting it up and bantering each other, which is good to keep going.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know, should we probably start look at maybe you know, like doing kind of single training sessions and stuff, but I wouldn't even go near it at the moment the way things are, because if one of us was a carrier or something like that and we gave to someone else, I wouldn't fancy that at the moment. It's not worth it to, you know, for something like that to happen, like.
Yeah. But I think, Darren, the fact that everyone's in the same boat, I think like there'll be time down the line to get a few weeks heavy training, and you'll be back to where you were a few weeks ago. You know what I mean? I don't think that, like, there's no rush with all that. Now, for the young League of Ireland players, like you'll be talking with, like, say, Cork City's academy, this is another massive opportunity for them again, because you look at the profile of the Cork City squad, first team squad, and it's how many players on loan, and no one knows whether they're coming back.
Yeah.
When everything resumes. So for these players, they need to be out their back garden as often as possible, making their left foot as good as their right foot, working on their heading, working on everything, working on speed, like just, I suppose, putting touches to their game that they probably in the normal world wouldn't have had a chance to work on, you know. So they've all the time now in the world to come back as players, and whether it's 6 weeks, 12 weeks, 60, whatever it is, that when they come back, that they've worked on all their tools, you know, and they come back much stronger. And who knows, those other players during this time mightn't have worked on their tools, so you can use it to your advantage, you know.
But what would happen, Eric, if we get to the situation where it is total lockdown, which is a potential reality? Like, I know, I don't know about your back garden, but, you know, I wouldn't be able to do much out the back of mine, you know. So, like, I remember when we were young, what, Hogs?
Up and down the stairs.
That's it, let the ball up and let it come down the stairs and do your touch. But, like, I remember when I was young, I used to kick the ball off with a bungalow house, kick it on the roof tiles, and make the ball move, and then you have to adjust your feet to get to the bottom of it. But nowadays, you're a two-story roof, the ball, it doesn't go. So if we are in proper lockdown, it's going to be very tough for these lads to do this work, isn't it?
Yeah, but I think you've got to find a way. Then it's going to be easier. Obviously, going to be easier for some people. They're going to have better situations, a bigger garden, maybe brothers even, or parents that can play with them. Like there's going to be better situations for some people. But I think, like, what's the alternative? Just sit down and just watch telly. You got to turn this into your advantage and come back. And it might be the smallest thing. It might be just going out. You don't need a huge space, but just working on that left leg. Leave your right leg. Forget about your right leg for this time, and just making your weak leg as good as your strong leg. It doesn't need you don't need a football pitch for that, you know.
Even in a total shutdown, like, you know, you could read a sports psychology book. You could, you know, get your diet better. There's loads of things you could do that isn't kind of technical football stuff out the back garden either. So I agree with Derek. I think it's a massive opportunity for kind of up and coming Cork City players and that.
And that kind of goes back to the full circle, Hogs, doesn't it? We're talking about this is a mentally challenging time for these lads. So really, it'll weed out the weak as well, won't it, to a degree? Because as Eric said, you know, if you really want to strive and be the best you can be, you will find a way to do it. You know, as I was saying, even if you have small room out the back, you know, we would do several drills where we were doing volleys, turns, headers, little touches, little triangle runs. You know, there was literally speed work. There was only 2-3 yards between the run, but you were making it out back, and you were doing it within 5 seconds, 10 seconds, whatever it may be. So there was loads of things you could do in that small confined area. But mentally, it's going to be extremely tough, because if you don't want to do it or you don't really have the drive to do it, I think you'll find out quickly who has that when they come back.
I think maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
Go on. No, I think
Darren.
maybe watching football as well. Like I don't know, or Sky Sports doing it, or older games and stuff like that. I think watching players play in your position is a huge thing, especially players at the top of the game as well. I think watching older football matches that don't have media attached to it the next day, or oh, he made a mistake, or Liverpool lost, and that's all people are concentrating on. It's like, I'm watching a game here. I've watched him play. It doesn't matter the result. Probably know it anyway. But I'm just watching the player in my position, and Jesus. I never really watched that during the game because there's, everything else is going on. What's the result? Where they're in the league? Who's going to transfer here?
Or even watch back a game you played in, Murph.
Yeah, exactly.
What
If it's available.
Yeah.
Actually, Cork City are showing games on Friday and Monday nights there. I think is it the 2005 one on this Monday night? So again,
yeah, I signed up. I watched the Dundalk one last night, so I'm looking forward to Monday night. Now get the popcorn out and get the lads watching it.
Relive
I hope it's low salt now, Derek.
Huh?
I hope it's low salt, half salt.
Butter and everything. Then we'd love it. And the Maltesers thrown in.
Oh,
where did that come from? Long time.
Where did the Maltesers come from? It seems to be everywhere. Like, it was just.
Yeah, some people like the minstrels. I'm not having the minstrels though. I'm pure Maltesers.
The shells. No.
Nah. Together.
Maybe the ones without the shells. What are they called? The minstrels without the
they're good.
shells. What are they called? Someone will get it. Who's a chocolate fan? Dennis, you definitely know. Come on.
Counters.
Oh, there he is.
There we go. There we go. I was top trump. Top trump.
The old fella in the rocking chair.
That's it.
They're no Worders originals.
So he went from he was his famous fried chicken to Counters for the man, and then
we definitely have to find out about that famous fried chicken. Like, that has to be verified. Hoggy, you're the man for that. There now, go into the old law books.
Get the archives.
On a serious note, the point that I think Dennis was making about it being a challenge for kids, I suppose. I don't know if you guys have been around for the last few years, people talking about children, and the term resilience comes up a lot, that that maybe they're lacking it because of the way modern society has gone, in terms of everything kind of being, I suppose, online or kind of easy to access for them. But I think this period coming will, give kids and I wouldn't say the way Dennis said it, which was, I think, maybe to do with weeding out the weak or whatever. I think what you'll get actually is, hopefully, is, they're going to grow to be resilient through this, if they aren't already, because it's going to be really challenging. It's going to be something that they'll look back and say, I got through that. And they probably, it's all up in the air for all of us, but I think particularly that age group where, they've lived online a bit, that now there's something here that's out there that, online you can't escape it. Well, you can do your best to do it wrong. But, and I think going forward, maybe that resilience could be a positive benefit for players going forward. But I think that's the way to kind of look at it. If you're a young player, that, look, this is going to make me stronger if I get through this, if I do the right things the government are telling me to do, if I support my family, and I come out the end of this kind of stronger. So I just wanted to say something kind of serious there.
No, fair play, Hawk. And look, we'll end at that. And again, please
just on that, Darren, just the top Hoggy saying as well, is that players are out with cruciate ligaments, they're out with ACLs, they're out with broken legs, and they come back. So at least these guys are going to have to get through this period of time without an injury to hold them back to work on all the things they need to work on. So in lots of ways, it's easier.
Yeah, lots of ways players are probably in a better position to deal with it than fans, actually. If you play the game, you're used to getting injured, you're used to the falls, whatever. It's probably the fans we should be worried about, who aren't getting the footage that they're used to and are waiting for something. And
yeah, it's tough on them, Hongs. It's that's a serious matter too. I suppose the societal, that cultural interaction with fellow like-minded people who live for Cork City or Cove Ramblers or whoever it is, Dundalk. These guys, that's their life, and I suppose we take, because we were players, we don't realise how important it is for fans, so it's going to be a tough time for them,
I think it goes all the way to the schoolboy clubs, Monsignor League clubs, women's game, men's game. It's going to be challenging for all of them. So I think that we're all in it together. kind of strategy is the best one, and hopefully, hopefully Fans Voice TV will be on in happier times soon, Murph.
I know, yeah, hopefully. But yeah, look, as you both said, football is an out for some people, and again, this is why we're doing this. Is, hopefully it gives fans some kind of, I don't know, entertainment or some kind of advice or something. And again, we want people to comment and on the page and let us know what to talk about if there's any issues or questions. Again, we're going to try and get as many people as we can on this. Again, it was a test, and I think it's something that looks like it's really good. We'll see what it's like after, but yeah, that's what we'll do. So thanks, lads.
It's probably easy to get fellas together on this, Murph, isn't it?
It's way easier, I think. Yeah, like it's just like again in these times especially. But no, thanks for coming on, lads, and we'll.
The perfect ending would be for Dennis to do his Russian dance before we go.
Hey.
So we'll end it then.
Or when we said to Dave Hill, Hilly said we needed to have a call if the game was getting tight or the game was we had to have a call. So Hilly was saying, what can we call it? And I said, well, what's Morgan Lurgan? And he goes, Morgan Lurgan? I said, yeah, that'd be a great call. If you shout that across the pitch, everyone know exactly what you mean now, Dave.
So we'll end at that anyway. Thanks everyone, and tune in for the next episode.